side of him. I think he's still that same Steve. He's still that. But now you're also seeing another side of him that he never had to show.
Telling people you work with, I don't want you even to be next to me. Like, I have such disdain for you that I'm annoyed by your presence.
His TV talk show.
Okay, this was the one he had on NBC just recently.
Whatever, yeah. The one that damn, who took his show from him?
Kelly Clarkson.
How can Kelly Clarkson take your show?
I heard you go on the air and you said, my sister done burnt too many bridges and there's nothing I can do for her now. Steve, do you know how hurt?
Steve Harvey did not just rise to the top by chance. According to a growing number of comedians, some people got stepped on along the way. Now the laughter has faded, and uncomfortable stories are starting to surface. Several of Steve's own peers claim his path to success was not as clean as it looked from the outside.
By the way, this is the same guy who rails against people who don't believe in his particular voodoo.
Right? Against gay people.
Against gay people, against AIDS.
Behind the sharp suits, constant smiles, and motivational speeches, there are allegations of broken friendships, borrowed material, and quiet backroom moves that left resentment across the comedy scene. For years, no one wanted to speak up. Now that silence is breaking, and the version of events being shared does not match the image Steve Harvey has built.
You know, my thing with Steve Harvey is that he used my material on both his platforms.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I saw him at Def Jam, I went up and talked to him, I said, man, you're using my...
Let us be clear about who we are talking about. Steve Harvey is one of the most recognizable figures in comedy and television. He went from stand-up stages to hosting Family Feud, Miss Universe, his own talk shows, and even positioning himself as a life coach to millions. Radio, books, podcasts, television, Steve became a brand. To the public, he is proof that discipline and faith can turn struggle into massive success. But people who knew him before the spotlight say the man on television is not the same person they encountered on the grind.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless.
Go back to the 1980s and 1990s, when stand-up comedy was at its peak. Steve Harvey was just another comedian trying to survive the circuit. Talented, driven, and hungry, but far from alone. Black comedians were flooding clubs from Chicago to Atlanta, all fighting for stage time and recognition. Names like Mark Curry, D.L. Hughley, Cat Williams, Monique, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac were all putting in work, earning respect one set at a time. Everyone understood the hustle.
Bernie said in the GQ article that when he got Ocean's 11, Steve had reached out to the producer and said he thought he would be a better fit and tried to get the part and blah, blah, blah. And that was,
They also understood the one rule you never violate in comedy. You do not take another comedian's jokes. That rule is where the controversy around Steve Harvey begins. And it is not coming from just one person. It is a pattern that has followed him for years.
Don't appreciate their jokes being stolen, and Steve Harvey has rubbed several comedians the wrong way. Well, it looks like Harvey has found himself in some trouble. No Halloween costume.
I think we UPS, I guess, I don't know.
You've heard me say that every Halloween I had the same outfit on. I just had a brown box. And he just told me to tell everybody I was the UPS man.
My material on his show, so I had a beef on that.
On what show?
When he was on the bullshit talk show he had, and he did all my Halloween material one Halloween.
Says he knows that Steve Harvey stole his Halloween bit because it was a personal story. He was talking about himself growing up.
This cat is hot. Please put your hands together for Cat Williams.
Saying you are not supposed to be at the gas station making life decisions.
Can't even pump gas like you used to no more.
If you put $15 in your tank, you had time to bond with your vehicle. You had time to put the nozzle in and
put the nozzle in there and hit it.
Set the clicker and look through your car and clean off the dashboard and
be sitting there talking, be on your phone. Hey, what's happening? Be walking around, cleaning the windshield.
Run in the store, get some Pringles and a Snapper, and it'll still be pumping.
Okay, you go in there, bring me a wine cooler. Bring me a cooler, dog. Not no more.
Can't even turn around good for that son of a bitch click. As soon as you put it in, just click, click.
Get in there and start it up, and you can't believe that damn needle is a quarter tank of gas.
The same Steve that went to... Then you ask it.
One of the most vocal critics has been Mark Curry, best known for starring in the 1990s sitcom Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Mark has been in the industry just as long as Steve, and in a resurfaced interview, he did not mince words. He openly claimed that Steve Harvey took his material, lifted entire jokes, and put them on television as if they were his own.
We going through something, we'll call each other because we feel for each other, because we know the real person.
Right, yeah.
I know they lying about you online. I know that podcast is bullshit. Hanging that dog, don't pay no attention to that.
Yeah.
Because you know, and look, man, just because you can talk smooth without saying it don't mean you ain't lying.
Right.
I be sitting up here looking at these podcasts of these other comedians that's going on talking about other comedians. Hold up, dog. Where did that shit come from? When did we become that? When did we get into tear each other down business? Because you ain't never heard me say not a disparaging remark against another comedian nowhere. You ain't heard him, or him. Because we ain't cut from that cloth.
Right.
So what is your motive for doing this here? And you're not going to tear him down. And look, man, I got a real platform.
This was not a vague accusation. Mark said he recognized it immediately. According to him, when the Steve Harvey show aired, he saw scenes, setups, and punchlines that matched his work almost exactly. And Mark is not the only one who has made similar claims. Over the years, smaller comedians, including people who opened for Steve or worked around him, have quietly said he would take their ideas, refine them, and present them as his own.
Harvey is on his third marriage. His third wife was mistress to his second wife.
You got it. Everybody thinks Steve Harvey's some stand-up man. I'm a kiss the old girl who owned TV One. He used to kiss her. He had the radio show out here.
It was hot. We had the Steve Harvey show, so we had a national TV show. Bernie Mac was the it comedian at the time, and then DL was hot. He had a TV. But the first year we did it, it was just me, Bernie, and Steve.
Right.
And Steve closed.
You did the first part, the second part.
I think, of course, that was, definitely a contributing circumstance, but I was
like me, like Oprah, Tyler, Lee Daniels, and I gotta put my brother Steve on the list. Y'all knew I was not wrong.
Love every time, had him on my show every time. But if you're gonna do another stick, just tell the brother that you're sticking me. Dog, I'm gonna be dogging you.
Mark Curry was the one who finally said it loud enough for people to stop ignoring it. He made a clear distinction, saying there is a difference between inspiration and outright theft. In his words, taking another comedian's entire act is not influence, it is robbery. What made it worse was timing. When Mark tried to speak up back then, no one wanted to listen. By that point, Steve Harvey was no longer just a comedian. He was a polished brand. The suits, the smile, the talk shows, the image of success. Calling him out meant challenging the machine, and most people were not willing to do that. But Mark was not alone for long. Years later, Cat Williams stepped into the conversation, and he did not hold back. In a now infamous interview, Cat said Steve Harvey was not the king of comedy but the king of recycled jokes, claiming Steve built much of his success off Bernie Mac's legacy. That statement cut deep because it was not just about material. It was about loyalty. Steve, Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hughley were once united as the kings of comedy, a moment that reshaped black stand-up forever. It was meant to be brotherhood, for men rising together. But after Bernie passed away, that unity cracked. Rumors spread that Steve used the moment to elevate himself, stepping into the spotlight and quietly claiming the crown. Kat framed it simply. Bernie was the people's champion. Steve was the television champion. Bernie never compromised, and that is why fans loved him differently. Once those comments landed, fans started revisiting old footage with fresh eyes. Interviews that once felt harmless suddenly carried tension. Moments like Steve speaking about Bernie on Oprah with what sounded like envy, or dismissive comments toward D.L. Hughley, felt different in hindsight. And when multiple comedians like Kat, Mark Curry, and Monique echo similar concerns, people start wondering if there is more behind the polished image. Even D.L. Hughley, one of Steve's longtime associates, has hinted at friction. On a recent podcast, D.L. said Steve knows how to survive in any room, but not everyone respects how he does it. He was pointing to Steve's ability to shift depending on the audience, one message for the streets, another for executives. Other comedians say that adaptability is exactly what made him dangerous. Comedy values authenticity. Hollywood values survival. Steve learned early how to play that game. Some comics from his early days have claimed he would laugh with you today and pitch your ideas tomorrow. That strategy might move you from comedy clubs to primetime television, but it also explains why many of his relationships faded as his fame grew. The most public fallout came with Monique. When she spoke out about being blackballed, Steve openly disagreed with her on air, telling her that integrity does not pay the bills in the money business. That moment went viral and revealed how differently they viewed loyalty. Monique saw it as betrayal. To her, Steve chose the system over a friend. That moment forced fans to connect more dots. If he could distance himself from Monique publicly, what happened privately with others? Even Steve has admitted he made questionable choices on his climb. In older interviews, he has said he did things he was not proud of, framing it as hunger. To many, that sounded less like metaphor and more like confession. Ambition without limits. The kind that does not pause to consider who gets hurt along the way. And while Steve continues to win, with record ratings, best-selling books, and viral speeches, the criticism never really stops. Former colleagues, radio staff, and peers have all hinted at the same thing. That Steve does not keep friends, he keeps opportunities. It is a cold statement, but one that fits Hollywood too well. He once said that if people believe you are blessed, they forget the cost of your rise. Looking at where he is now, that belief may have carried him far. But the question remains. Can someone build an empire on burned bridges and still escape the weight of it? Steve Harvey's name continues to surface whenever people talk about power, compromise, and betrayal in entertainment. From Bernie Mac to Monique to Cat Williams, the pattern keeps repeating. Maybe Steve represents the uncomfortable reality of success. That talent alone is not enough. That survival sometimes rewards the smartest, not the most loyal. Steve Harvey is undeniably brilliant at the game. But as D.L. Hughley once suggested, just because you make it does not mean everyone clapping is happy for you. His rise may be legendary, but it came with consequences. And now, as more voices speak up, fans are left asking a final question. Did Steve Harvey truly build his success, or did he build it on the backs of others? Either way, the stories are no longer whispers. And while Steve keeps moving forward, the past he left behind is finally speaking for itself.